Ottawa Senators center Josh Norris will start training camp in a yellow non-contact jersey after he tweaked something during the team's captain's skate last week. Norris has missed 90 games over the past 2 seasons with a shoulder injury. He's entering the second year of an 8-year, $63.6 million contract that he signed in July of 2022. Winnipeg Jets training camp may have a different look this season. Head coach Rick Bowness expects full effort from his team as soon as camp starts, if the team is going to take another step forward this season.
It's going to be a tough training camp. It's going to be a lot of skating. You can't take all the X's and O's out of the game. You can't do those things unless you're in great shape. We're going to be a hard-working. Our team's going to be in great shape, and the way we want to play with a pressure game, as much as we can, you need to be in great shape. So we're going to have battles. We're going to have skating. The players got an email the 1st of September. Is prepare for another tough training camp, and that's our goal going into it. No one's going to go half-assed through the drills. We're going 100%. I didn't come in here to win a popularity contest. And I didn't come in here to worry about my next job. I'm not worried about my next job. My job is to keep pushing this group, and that's what we're going to do.
The Bruins have named Brad Marchand the 27th captain in Boston Bruins history. He succeeds Patrice Bergeron, who retired this offseason. Marchand entering his 15th season in Boston, 6th in franchise history with 372 goals, and his 947 games played puts him 8th in Bruins franchise history.
I'm extremely proud and honored, and it means more to me than I think anyone will ever know. To be able to wear a C for this team, as a 23-year-old, if I would have told myself I'd be captain one day, I definitely would not have bet a penny on that. So it's pretty incredible.
Seems pretty happy. That was a lot of close-ups of Brad Marchand's face.
Yeah, it's a bit much. To be honest, I wouldn't want that many close-ups either. Let's be honest.
No. And there's close-ups of my face on every show, and somehow I'm still employed. I don't know how it happens. Frankie, let's start in Ottawa. Josh Norris, he has the contract extension. We know about the shoulder injuries. Now it's another setback. How concerned are you about him?
Not concerned about this one because they used the word tweak, and I believe Pierre Dorion was saying that if the season started in a few days, he would probably be playing.
Right.
So that doesn't really worry me. But I like this approach by the Sens, and just to put him in a non-contact uniform and say, like, you're just not going to go right away. We want you ready. He's a big investment for this team, and they need him to be a big part of that team. Why rush him into training camp and full contact? Like, make sure he's ready to go. And there's certain things that come with being a player, like certain pressure moments. Training camp is one of them, where it's like you want to be out with the guys on your team doing everything right from the beginning. Hockey's just such a team sport. You always want to be with your teammates doing the exact same thing as them. Sometimes it's okay to admit that you're not right away, and you'll just take a little extra time and be ready to go. And there's no shame in that. So I like this. It's a little more of a progressive approach from the Sens. And ultimately, you're taking care of your asset that you expect big things out of, and quite frankly, need big things out of if you're going to be a playoff team this year.
You know, the way the Jets season ended last year, we remember Rick Bowness's comments. He was not happy with the effort from his team in the postseason.
He wasn't?
He didn't think they had any jam.
Was he disgusted?
He was disgusted with their effort. So it can't be a surprise that he comes out guns a-blazing and says, this is going to be a tough camp. Do you like this approach?
Sure, why not? Like, I think I've said this to you in the past. If Rick Bowness was a movie review on Rotten Tomatoes, it would be a 99.99% approval rating from the various players. I don't know if it's 2,500 players that have played for Rick Bowness. Like, that's how much people like playing for this guy and appreciate what he brings to the table. And like, he's got his hands full here in Winnipeg, where he's really got to change a culture, right? And they've moved on from some pieces now in Dubois and Wheeler, and he's trying to establish something. It's gritty to get there. Like, you got to go through a little bit of muck to get there. And I think him establishing what the training camp parameters are going to be like, that's not the worst thing in the world. Everyone knows what they're getting into right from day one. So I don't mind it. And, you know, you ask any player, give it to me straight. Where do I stand? What are the expectations? Players like that kind of stuff. Rick Bowness is one of the best at doing that, and that's why a lot of people appreciate what Rick Bowness brings to the table.
From the outside perspective, someone like me who never played, I think of that Winnipeg Jets camp. I think it must be strange because maybe you thought Hellebuck and Scheifele were going to be gone. Now Lowry's the captain. But is it strange, or are you just going in there and just doing your own thing?
You're just doing your thing, right?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some players that are new to the team that want to establish what they bring to the group. Like you mentioned, Hellebuck and Scheifele. Like, they have a lot to play for as well, right? They want to cash in on some big contracts, whether it's going to be with Winnipeg or whether it's going to be elsewhere. But there's a lot to play for. Like, I think that's a group that, you know, as the season went on last year, we really saw their play tail off in a big way. Like, that was a significant tailspin to enter the season, and they went into the playoffs limping. Ultimately, they got beat pretty bad by the Vegas Golden Knights, who went on to win the Stanley Cup. But that left a bad taste, and I'm not just Rick Bowness's mouth, but I'm sure a lot of the people within the organization. So it's up to them to kind of rectify that. They can make the playoffs this year. They showed that they were a good team last year, but ultimately, I believe Rick Bowness has said that there needs to be things that change if they want to do that.
So Brad Marchand is the new captain in Boston. First of all, what was your initial reaction? Was this the right move ultimately?
Yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you think of the passing of the baton in Boston. Yeah. We don't need to go back too far. We can go back to Chara, into Bergeron, and now into Marchand. And I know he's 35 years old, but he's going to carry that baton a little while longer.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just the embodiment of what it is to be a Boston Bruin. Feisty, physical, brings it every single night. Like, that's the identity of the Bruins, and Brad Marchand has been the poster boy for that throughout his career. So it is the right move, and at some point he'll pass that on to someone else in the organization, whether it is going to be Charlie McAvoy or, you know, take your pick of some of the young talent that they do have on that team, David Pasternak. You know, the only thing with Brad Marchand being the captain now is he's going to be dealing with the officials a little more in a professional manner.
For sure.
Let's say, you know, so he's going to have to toe the line a little bit. Like, there's not going to be that buffer between Marchand and the referees.
Right.
He's going to, like, he needs to take care of it himself.
He is the buffer. But is that, weird question, could that potentially change his game a little bit?
I don't think it changes his game. Like, if you look at the evolution of him, right? And he kind of talked about it. If you told me at 23 years old I was going to be the captain of this team, he goes, I wouldn't have put a penny on it.
Right.
And he's probably right, because he just kind of came in as this gritty, scrappy little player.
Yeah.
And he's just evolved into so much more. A highly skilled player, one of the best players in the league on any given year. So, you know, when you look at the way he plays, like, there's more to it than just, you know, being a pest and the stuff after the whistle.
Yeah.
He'll still do that stuff,
yeah.
But it'll be a little interesting to see how he handles, you know, negotiating with the referees when there's no one negotiating on his behalf.
It's going to be a fascinating year in Boston after their incredible regular season last year, and then you lose Bergeron, and yeah, it's going to be a fun season there.
Yeah.
Maybe not fun if they start losing.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Boston fans have been so spoiled for so long.
Absolutely.
And whether it's been the Bruins or the Celtics or the Patriots, like, you know, the list goes on and on, even the Red Sox. Like, they're a very spoiled fan base because they've had so much success. And I think when you look at the Bruins, you know, even if they come back down to earth, what does that look like? Is 95 points, like, that gets you into the playoffs? Like,
you still have them as a playoff team.
I would, because they're a 135-point team last year. Even if they're 40 points worse than they were, and I know that was the best regular season in history. Like, if they're 40 points worse, they're still knocking on the door to the playoffs. They're a point in or they're a point out. They're in that ballpark. So I could very well see the Boston Bruins making the playoffs again.
Buddy, you got me excited about this season. It's going to be a lot of fun, and Frankie's going to be joining us throughout. Thanks for joining us on this show, bud.
Thank you.